Hey everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm Christy Wright, and today we are talking about self-care. Now y'all, this is a really fun topic because it's so important, and it's one of those things that we know in our mind we should do, we just don't do. Now, I want to start by giving you an example of something that I realized about 4 years ago. So my son Carter was born in January of 2015. And the moment this baby boy came into the world, the moment he made me a mama for the first time, I experienced something I'd never experienced before. This baby, this tiny human, became my entire world. He consumed every thought that I had, every concern that I had. I revolved my entire world around this perfect little baby all day, every day. It was feeding and is he okay? And does he need to sleep? And does he need to swaddle? Does he need a passy? What does he need? Does he need me? Does he need to play? Does he need tummy time? All day, every day, you are consumed with taking care of this perfect little bundle of joy that you love more than you ever knew you could love anything or anyone in the entire world. Now, becoming a mom, whether you adopt a baby or you have nieces and nephews that you feel like you get to be mama to, regardless of how you mother, when you experience being a mom, you also experience something else. And this may sound negative, but I don't mean it to sound negative. You lose a little bit of yourself. You become a different person as this mother, and you now identify as a mom, and oh, my whole world revolves around this little person. And in the process of taking care of them, in the process of loving them so much all day, every day, you lose a little bit of yourself. You start to forget about the things that you used to love before they were here. The things that gave you joy, the things that gave you energy, the things that made you feel rested. Sleep becomes a distant memory for many, many years, and your whole world revolves around this tiny person. Now, this was the first time in my life that I experienced it on that level, where my whole world was consumed with this little baby, and I didn't feel like there was anything left of me. And what happens in the process is not only do we feel like we lose ourselves, but we forget to take care of ourselves. We forget about the rest. We forget about the exercise. We forget about the shopping or pedicures or spa days or just time with girlfriends or time alone or time reading a good book. All those things seem like luxuries that we will indulge in if there's some time left over. And you and I both know there is never time left over. If you're waiting to have some time left over before you take care of you, before you do things that give you joy, before you do things that invest in yourself, you'll never do it. There will always be something more demanding of your time and your attention and your energy if you don't put yourself at the top of the priority list in your own life. So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about self-care. Whether you feel like you've lost yourself in motherhood or in your business or maybe in your full-time career, you're climbing the corporate ladder, you're working 80 hours a week, and you don't feel like there's anything left of you. I want to spend a little bit of time helping us get back to the person that makes all of those things possible, you. Now, there's one thing that you need to know about self-care that is the most important thing you need to know. We can unpack strategies and tactics and ways that you can take care of yourself, but there's one thing that you first need to know. Self-care is up to you. That's why it's called self-care. No one can do it for you. No one can make you take time off work. No one can make you take a vacation. No one can make you take a bubble bath. No one can make you go get a pedicure. No one can make you read a book. No one can make you value yourself. No one can do that for you but you. Not a husband, not a coworker, not a boss, not a friend. So if you're sitting around waiting for someone to give you permission to take care of yourself, it's not going to happen. If you're sitting around waiting for someone else to tell you to take time off, it's not going to happen. If you're sitting around waiting for someone else to value you enough where you can value yourself, it will not happen. Self-care starts with yourself. It starts with you. Now, the great news is the problem with self-care is you, but you're the solution also. You can fix this. You can do something in your life that makes a difference, that makes you happier and more proud and more confident and enjoying your life more, but it's all up to you. So let's start with this tough love truth that if you feel rushed and run ragged and run down and busy and burn out and grumpy and resentful and unhappy in your own life, it's probably because you have not taken care of you. And there's only one person in the entire world that can fix that. You. Self-care starts with you. No matter how much someone wants to take care of you, no matter how much you want them to take care of you, no one can do this for you but you. Let me give you an example. No matter how many times my husband tells me I look pretty, if I don't feel pretty, I don't act like it. It all starts with you. And when you feel bad about you, you feel bad about everything else too. Now, I want to tell you, loving your children more than life is a wonderful thing. That's a normal thing. But it's still okay to want more for your life. And working hard in your business and climbing the corporate ladder, those are not bad things. It's not a bad thing to have a busy season. But you've got to stop putting everyone else first and then resenting them for it. You've got to stop living your life like a doormat and then wondering why people are walking on you. Because you made the choice to live like that. You made the choice to let everyone else run the show and you put yourself last. But I also want to remind you that when you do this, when you put everyone else first and you use this Mother Teresa martyr syndrome of living this life like, oh, well, everyone else is just more important, but you end up grumpy and unhappy and rushed and running ragged and resentful, where you're carrying around anger in your heart, you're not the only one that loses. Everyone does. Everyone around you loses. Your husband loses. Your kids lose. Your coworkers lose, your clients lose, your team loses, everyone loses. Because I guarantee you, what these people in your life need from you, more than tasks completed and more than a warm meal on the table or a ride to soccer, is a woman in their life that has come alive, that is full of joy, that is confident and proud and happy to be there doing those things. But it all starts with you. And by the way, self-care is more than just a bubble bath once a quarter. We're talking about a way of life. I'm talking about valuing yourself and making yourself a regular, consistent priority in your own life. It's about filling your own tank, your tank, with the emphasis on you. You're the one doing it and you're the one filling your tank. It's kind of like when you're driving. If you run out of gas on the side of the road, it's so much more stressful and frustrating and complicated to get gas to fill up your car. But if you just keep gas in your car, it's not stressful. It's not hard to refill your tank. It's not hard to stop by a gas station. So stop waiting until you're on the verge of a nervous breakdown before you decide to throw a flag, raise your hand, and ask for help. Stop waiting until you are having an anxiety attack and looking to your doctor for medication because you are so unhappy in your life before you start to seek out the rest that you need, the care that you need, the time that you need to be you. Stop waiting until it's a crisis. And you know what? When you do something for yourself, even if it's the first time, even if it feels a little awkward and feels a little selfish at first, when you do something the first time, I want you to know you don't have to apologize for it. Not the first time, not the 1,000,000th time. You know, I had a friend, this was years ago, and she told me she was going to Florida. This was a mom. She had a couple of kids, and she just ran a really busy life like we all do. And I remember her telling me, yeah, I think I'm going to go to Florida with the girlfriend. And immediately, y'all, she goes into this long list of reasons of why she needs to go. Of justifications of why it's okay to go to Florida. Yeah, I'm going to go to Florida with a girlfriend, but I've just had a really, really hard year, and we've had some struggles in our family and health struggles, and it's just been a really hard year, and work's been really hard, and I feel like I just need this. I need this to recover. I need this to recoup. I need this. I was like, you don't have to explain to me. You don't have to have a list of reasons. You don't have to have your checklist of what validates your trip to Florida. You can just say, I'm going to Florida because I want to go. Because I like the sun. Because I want to feel the sand in my toes. I went 2 weeks ago, and guess what? I'm going again. You don't have to explain your choices to anyone. You don't have to validate and justify making a decision to take care of yourself. Now, of course, if you're going with a girlfriend or leaving your business or leaving your spouse, you need to be on the same page with the responsibilities before you head out of town. But if you decide to do something for yourself, you don't need to justify it. But you know what I noticed in my conversation with my friend? I don't think she was justifying it to me. I think she was justifying it to herself. I think she had such a sense of guilt that doing something for herself was so selfish that she had to point to this list of reasons of why she needed to go and it was okay for her to go. I want you to know you don't need to have that list of reasons. You don't need to justify it to anyone else, and you don't need to justify it to yourself. This is something that you don't have to apologize for. It should become a regular, consistent priority in your own life. You know, I had another friend ask me, and this was I guess a couple of years ago. We were just having some girlfriends sitting around talking, and one of them posed the question to the group. She said, okay, what is one thing that you do just for yourself? Like just one thing, like just one thing that you do that's just for you. And everyone started listing out like, well, the one thing I do for me is read a book at night 15 minutes before bed. Or the one thing that I do for me is sometimes, like, you know, on my birthday every year, I'll go get a massage. The one thing? When it got to me, I was like, I don't have one thing. I have like 9 million. I work out. I like to get new clothes at TJ Maxx. I, will have fun with my girlfriends. I will go on vacations with my husbands. We have date nights. I hang out with my mom. I read a good book. I go for a walk. I got a long list of things I do for myself. Why do we feel like we need to have one thing? Why do you feel like in your life you are only allotted one thing? Everybody else gets all of you, 99.9% of you. Your work, your business, your kids, everybody else gets 99 but you're allowed to have one thing that's just for you. Let me tell you, friends, you can have a lot more than one thing. I'm not talking about being selfish. I'm not talking about neglecting your family. I'm not talking about neglecting your business or your spouse, but I will tell you that when you are strong, when you take care of yourself, when you do things that fill you up, that give you rest, that bring you joy, everyone around you benefits. And you are able to love those people and lead those people from a place of strength and joy and abundance out of the overflow of your heart and what you have in you, not out of exhaustion and resentment and barely keeping up. I'm not saying neglect anyone. I'm saying take care of you so that you can take care of them. It's not only okay to give yourself a break and slow down, it's necessary. Taking care of yourself is not selfish. It is self-preservation, and it's smart. It is something that is going to help you stay with this the long haul, to chase your dreams, to be a joy-filled wife and mom and business leader. Now, I know that this is a struggle for me as well. I'll tell you guys, slowing down is something that I am not good at. Sometimes I literally feel like God makes me slow down. I love the verse in the Bible where it says, He makes me lie down in green pastures. The emphasis in that verse for me is makes me. He makes me lie down. He makes me slow down. He makes me stop and rest and be still. When you do this, when you slow down, when you do those things that give you joy, that make you proud, that make you confident, that make you like yourself, y'all, everything around you changes. Not only are you better for the people that you love the most, you also enjoy your own life a whole lot more. All right, our next call is Jill calling in from Hawaii. Hi, Jill, how are you?
Hey, how are you doing?
Great. What's going on?
I just had a simple question. I was wondering, as a small business owner, how do I know how much to pay myself?
Well, let's talk a little bit about your margins. Are you a product-based business or service-based?
Service-based.
Okay, great. So what are your main costs? Like what's going into your cost? Do you have actual equipment, materials that you're using to produce your services, or is it just your time?
No, I have a vacation rental. So I have HOAs, I have taxes, and then just basic supplies for keeping the condo up and running.
Sure. So do you have markup built in right now for what you're charging?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then what am I missing? Like, why are you not paying yourself now, I guess is what I'm asking. Because if you don't have a ton talk me through it.
So I do clean my condo. I manage my condo. I do all of it. And I do pay myself the cleaning, but I don't know, like, the extra money that I make. Like, I don't know if there's a percentage that I should take off every month off from, like, the gross income. that is typical for small businesses?
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to vary depending on your industry. Obviously, if you're in a product-based business, your margin's lower. If you're in a service-based business, it's a little bit higher. Here's what I would encourage you to do. I would encourage you to work on getting your demand up so that you can have more margin to pay yourself. Anything left over after you've covered your expenses is yours to take home, and you should. Unless you're saving for a specific goal to make an improvement, all that money is yours. So you don't have to wait for a certain moment to take it home. You start taking it home now. Get that demand up, increase your prices, more profit, more paycheck for you. Hey everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm Christy Wright, and I'm so excited because today I get to share another awesome conversation with you that I had with one of my very good friends, Ashley Lemieux. Ashley is the founder of the Shine Project and Shop Ashley Lemieux, and she's the author of the brand new book, Born to Shine. She is a beautiful soul that will just shine a light in your life. I know you will love our conversation, so check it out. Hey everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm Christy Wright, and I'm so excited because I am hanging out with my real life friend, Ashley Lemieux. Ashley, thanks for being here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
So this is fun. We've never had you to the office in like our real world of Business Boutique, but you and I get coffee and lunch and hang out because you're Nashville local,
yes,
which I love. And so I have just so enjoyed getting to know you and getting to hear your story. But for our listeners that may not know you, tell us a little bit about what your business is and start at the beginning, like the very beginning, how this whole thing got started.
Okay, so my company is called the Shine Project. And about 7 years ago now, I was in college trying to figure out what it was that I wanted to do with the rest of my life. Newly married, had literally no money to our name. And I knew that when I graduated from college, I just needed to do something that fulfilled me so that I could be happy when I went to work.
Sure.
And during that time, I was interning at an inner city high school in Phoenix. And I was working with these first-generation college students who didn't have a lot of resources or mentorship to get from where they were in high school to then getting a higher education in college. And as I met these students, I knew that I needed to help them make that jump. So I decided that I was going to also start a blog at that time. This was when people were blogging on like blogger.com, before Instagram, before Pinterest, before anything. And so I started a blog called The Shine Project. I had chosen a word that I wanted for my year to motivate me, and the word that I chose was shine. And I thought that if I was struggling with the things I was struggling with in my life, just these dreams that I wanted to pursue but was really fearful of how to make it happen, that there were so many other women who had to been in my same boat. So I started a blog called The Shine Project, where I created just this really supportive community of women where they could come online to get resources and encouragement and motivation from me and the other women involved in this online community. And that grew quickly. So by the time I was in this internship with these inner city youth, I knew that I needed to use my online platform to be their voice and help raise money for them to go to college. About a year later, after we fundraised enough money to send 10 of those students to their first year of school, I knew that there was something more, that I needed to take those kids and help them continue to be mentored so that they could be leaders when they graduated and so that they could have a job while they were going through school. So I taught myself how to make jewelry, and my idea was that we would employ the students on how to make the jewelry, and then we would sell it to my online following. And I was just hoping, like crossing all my fingers, that at least my mom and her friends would buy it.
Someone in your neighborhood would feel bad for you and buy a necklace. Yeah.
And I told my husband, hey, I know we have no money, but I'm going to invest $300, which is probably half of what we had, in these jewelry supplies and employing these kids, and then we're going to see what happens. And so that's how everything started.
Which this whole idea is kind of crazy. Like looking back when...
It is really crazy.
You didn't know what you were doing. You're like, okay, I see this need here and I've got this platform here and I'm going to take $300 here and go get some supplies. Like you're connecting dots that are not even remotely connected. But I love how you had this dream and you're like, I'm going to make this work and I'm going to do this in a way that is filling a gap in multiple different places. Jewelry for the women online, jobs for the students that you wanted to help. And in the beginning, you were really, really scrappy. And I want to talk about this because so many women that I work with, Ashley, they think that business is so sophisticated and you have to have an MBA and you have to have a business mind and you have to have all these qualifications and certifications and validations, all these things. And what I tell them again and again is usually it's people like you that are just getting scrappy.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm going to take $300 and I'm going to see what I can make out of this.
Yes.
And so talk to me about those early days, not only the fear, but how you pushed past the fear to just make the thing work.
So when we launched it, we were living in our little 2-bedroom cockroach-infested condo, and it was so terrifying, but also I had so much hope because I didn't want that to be my life forever.
Sure.
I didn't want to live how we were living forever, and I was also working a job before the internship that really just sucked the life out of me, and I didn't want that to be my life either. So it got to this point where I was like, you know what, if I want something to change in my life, there are some risks that I have to take to get the wheels moving the direction I want my life to go. And so at first we would have the students come over to our little tiny condo and teach them how to do the bracelets, and then we would send them with supplies to go back to where they lived, and then probably 2 to 3 times a week, I would make the rounds, dropping off and picking up supplies, and it would literally take all day because they lived about 45 minutes to an hour away from where we lived, and so I was just like toting around
in your trunk, just throwing the boxes,
putting the stuff in there, But I felt like I just had these blinders on because I think sometimes I think that if I had gone to school for business or had any experience doing what I was doing, it would have throttled me back because I would have realized right away how difficult what I was trying to do was. And I also probably would have gotten in my own way a little bit.
Yeah.
More.
So it was almost a blessing that you didn't know any better, right?
I didn't know any better. I was like, let's do this.
Yeah,
like,
I love it.
We can do this. Why not?
Yeah.
And so I didn't have much to lose, but I knew that if we could make it work, we had everything to gain, and we had so many lives that could be changed that it was worth a shot at least.
I love that. So from the first time that you started and you took your $300 and you got your supplies and you're driving around with these students, dropping off supplies, picking up the jewelry, was there a point at which, especially in the early days, not like, oh, it's super successful, but where you realized this is working. I'm turning a profit. I can do it again. The women are buying it. I need to go get more supplies. I'm going to reinvest that money. Was there a moment where you felt that validation, like it's no longer just a theory and a hope and a dream and a wish? This is working. This is gonna work.
Yeah. So right when we launched it, we sold out of all the jewelry that we had made, which wasn't a ton, right? Because I only had $300.
Right.
But now instead of $300, I think we had like $1,000 because we had turned it over, and I was like, okay, we can do more. And so we just slowly kept selling online, and then we went to our first in-person event where we took the jewelry to just this little women's boutique event where they could come shop, and we sold a few thousand dollars worth of jewelry, and at that time it just like blew my mind. And so then I thought, we can not only sell online, but there has to be events across the country where you can go set up like this because people are going to buy it.
That's right.
And so then we started figuring out, well, where can we go in person so we can reach people who don't know what we're doing yet? And then that led to us eventually doing wholesale trade shows and just doing much bigger in-person markets. But it all started just from those little...
Was that a little bit scary when you started to get a taste of that success, when you go to a boutique event and you bring in $3,000 where, 5 minutes ago it seemed like you had $300. Did you feel this weight of this responsibility of like, oh, I've got to be really smart with how I manage this money, and now we've got to just like, did you have to feel a pressure to get more sophisticated or to steward it well, because it did increase so quickly,
Yeah. I did. I felt a lot of pressure to steward it well, especially when it came to who do we hire, where do we put this money, because still, even though we brought $3,000 in the long scheme of the business, that's still not a lot, right? And so I couldn't go crazy with what was going on. I had to be really careful and strategic about what happened next. I remember the first time we signed up for a wholesale trade show. It was about a year and a half into things, and that terrified me because that was about a $10,000 investment, and I knew it had to go well, otherwise it was going to hurt us a lot. But I also knew that if we didn't take that risk, then we could just be stuck kind of in the smaller shows, and I just knew there was so much more potential. So yes, I definitely was afraid, but I also knew that there had to be a better way than just being afraid.
Staying stuck. Totally.
Yeah, being stuck.
I love that. Now, what's so cool about your business is now what it is today is so much bigger. You've got multiple actual retail boutiques. You've got an online store. You've got a lot of things you're doing. Kind of walk us through some of the main stages or milestones that as this whole thing has evolved. Because now you've got a book coming out, which is so exciting. Like you're doing speaking. This thing has evolved so much, and I have loved to see how you have really leaned into the opportunity. So talk about some of those milestones and kind of how you knew what the next step was.
So what I think is interesting when I look back on the Shine Project, because why I started it in the beginning is I wanted a community for women where they could come and be supported and have resources that would help them shine in their lives. And then that turned into us supporting first-generation college students. And then once that really started going, that took all of my time and resources and attention. And I found myself trying to manage this company who at one point had almost 30 employees, and we're in tons of stores across the country, and we have so much product coming in and out all the time. And I was like, whoa, like this is a lot. Yeah. And it's hard to do both. I couldn't do both. I was fully submerged into having the Shine Project product grow and helping these youth. As that grew and as different things happened in my personal life, I realized probably 2 years ago that had fulfilled its purpose and that I needed to pivot a little bit to get the Shine Project back to really supporting women and having our products support that instead of lead that. Yeah. And so I had to figure out, what does that mean? Because that's scary to pivot. So what does that mean? During that time, I had also launched another company, a clothing boutique called Shop Ashley Lemieux, because I wanted to help dress women who do in clothes that would help them feel comfortable and confident in the things that they were going out to do in their life. So I now had this second company, and I felt like everything just needed to merge more together so that we could just really empower women to empower themselves in their lives.
Have some more strategy around all that.
Yeah. And my dream since I was little was to be a writer. And that's why I started blogging in the first place. And I just had this fire lit inside of me that the things that I've been through and learned in my life need to be taught and put out in such a way that it can really help other people. And I just knew I needed to write a book, and then that book needed to help fuel more in-person events where we could gather these women, and more courses and guides that could really help them do the work that they need that will help lift them in their lives. And so I just kind of went on this journey of this pivot, and that's where we are right now.
I remember when we were sitting at Starbucks. I don't know if this was like a year
ago. Oh yeah, that was a year ago.
I think it was about a year ago, because it was pretty recent after everything you had gone through, and you were talking about wanting to write a book. But it was still that beginning stage of like, I want to, but it feels scary, but you hadn't started yet. And now it's just so cool that you're in the middle of pre-sale and the book is here, and seeing over time just as those dreams were getting fulfilled. And what's amazing is, to your point, I think it's so great how you see, I've had this burning desire to write, while also you've got this business stuff going on and trying to get your business all in line with the original heart behind it, the original why behind it. And in the meantime, you've gone through unbelievable devastation. You've gone through unbelievable difficulties, and not only stayed afloat during this time and kept your business afloat, but then found a way to use that story to bless other people. So as much as you want to, talk to us a little bit about how did you keep all the balls in the air and keep your business going while going through such a difficult time, and still give yourself grace to go through what you went through. You know what I mean?
Well, I think you're giving me a lot of credit right now.
Well,
I don't
you are
feel...
sitting here with great lipstick and you're looking great. Come with looks on the rise and business going, while everything was really, I mean, relatively recently, Ashley. Like, that was not that long ago.
And I didn't keep all the balls in the air. And what we're referring to right now, if you don't know any part of my story, is that my husband and I had become parents overnight and raised our children through a legal guardianship for over half their lives. So it'd been over 4 years. And then all of a sudden, during the final steps of our adoption process, we encountered an unexpected contested adoption. We fought for our kids in court for 2 years. So trying to keep our lives afloat during that time was horrific. And then unexpectedly, I was actually at one of our wholesale trade shows in Atlanta. I got a call that we were losing the kids the next day.
Yeah.
And no one was letting me come home to say, like, it was just done.
Overnight, yeah.
Overnight. And we never had any inclination that we weren't going to be a family forever and ever. We weren't even foster parents. It was us four forever and always. And so then we have two components, which was the fighting for them that lasted 2 years.
Right.
And then losing them.
Right.
And then that grief that followed.
Sure.
And that was only 2 years ago this year that we lost the kids. And I just feel like I'm starting to be able to breathe a little bit again. And I didn't keep all my balls in the air. When you lose your kids, how can you? You can't.
Right.
And so
your whole world has been turned
my
upside
whole
down.
world was turned upside down. It affected our business a lot because I didn't have the right people in place who also took advantage of that situation.
Yeah, I remember us talking about that.
Yeah, while I was away. And so in my life, though, it got to a point where I was in such a big depression and in such this traumatic PTSD time that I was honestly worried about basic human needs. Like, how am I going to eat today? How
Just
am I
get
going
up
to
and
get
going.
out of bed today? And so it was so hard because I still had these employees and this business and this community of women, but I literally could only get up sometimes. But here's what I've learned from that is that has now started, just like little by little, has started to transform into where we are today, because I know that if I can turn my pain into my power in my life, then I can help women do the same in theirs. And as I started sharing my story a little bit more, because we had to be quiet about what we were going through with the kids for so long, and once I was finally able to start talking about it, the amount of messages, thousands and thousands of women coming out and sending messages, thank you for sharing that. Here's what's going on in my life. Here's what I need help with. And I'm like, there's so many of us who feel so alone and so just heartbroken, and we just need help. And so that kind of fueled my fire to pivot a little more, because I just knew that it was time right now to focus on helping women shine again.
Yeah, it's amazing how I feel like even in the online community and social media, it's so easy we have these connections and we're high-fiving and commenting and putting little hearts and emojis and all that stuff, but we have no idea what that person is going through and what life they're living, what shoes they're walking in. You know, even here at our company, in the last few months, I've heard about a couple different team members that they have family members that are going through major health issues that are just devastating, children and spouses and stuff, where you see them every day. You see them every day in meetings, and you would never know what they were going through. And so as you share your pain online, as you share your story online, for people to be able to say, oh my gosh, that gives me such hope because I have pain too. And that's not what we always talk about online. A lot of times we talk about all the good things, all the happy things, all the shining, smiling pictures, moments. But behind all those pictures, we all have different types of pain and different levels of pain and different stages we're going through. And even as you've been brave to step into your story and share that, which I remember we talked about this at Starbucks, but how difficult that must be to not only have lived it, but to relive it through telling the story, which gives hope to other people. But now for you to use that to be able to give hope and spread that inspiration.
Yeah, I feel like, though, I'm not living in a place anymore where I'm retelling my story because it's shifted. Now I can show people what has happened, but here's what can be next. Like, I know that your life feels over, but here's what could be next for you. And so I don't feel like I'm reliving it anymore. I feel like I'm able to literally go beside you or you and hold hands with these sisters who are following me, and together being able to walk through their pain, even if it's not in person. But I've just really learned what tools are needed to get through really hard times. And so I feel like now it's my privilege to be able to share that with other people.
Yeah, to be able to connect in that way.
Yeah.
You know, Ashley, I can't even imagine how difficult that time was. And the way that you describe it, you know, I didn't keep all the balls in the air. I didn't keep it going. It was hard to even get out of bed. As you're going through this season, which is a season, it's not like I had a hard day, right? Like, it's like, this is a season that is a length of time. What are some practical things that you did to give yourself grace? Because I know, and I was even just talking about this with you, a lot of our listeners and viewers are people that they have these big business goals and they have a lot of responsibilities, but something happens in their life. They might be pregnant with twins. They might be going through a health issue. Their husband lost their job. They're going through a season that is difficult and it's full of pain, and they need to give themselves grace during that season. And so what are some things that you did to give yourself permission to heal and grieve and just kind of get through?
So this is such a big question, and I've noticed that it's transformed just through the different season even of grief that I've been in. In the beginning, literally my goal was to get up in the morning.
Yeah.
And it sounds so simple to say that, right? But when you feel like you've been blanketed and your world is dark, I used to describe it where I literally felt like I had watched someone dig my grave, put me in it, and then bury me back up. And I was just laying there. That's how life felt like. Like, I didn't know that you could still be alive and feel so dead at the same time. And so I didn't know what to do because I didn't want to be, but I was. And so it had to start slowly for me. At one point, I had 4 different types of doctors helping me, therapists, psychologists, a natural doctor, because I had been so sick that I couldn't eat, and I had lost a lot of my hair, a lot of weight, because I was grieving the loss of my children.
Sure.
And so I had to start first, like, taking care of myself, which was also hard because for so long I'd been the last priority. My priority was fighting for my family and running my company, and all of a sudden I had to become my number one priority. And I think especially as women, we don't put ourselves first a lot.
Right.
And that would be the number one step, is that outside of everything else that you're trying to do, you have to be number one, because you can only pour out as much as being poured back into you.
Right.
And if you're empty, it doesn't do your business good. It doesn't do your family good. It doesn't do your kids good. You're not able to serve in the way that you were made to serve other people if you're empty. And so that was the first thing.
Yeah.
And then I started doing little things like setting little goals each day. So my biggest question that I still ask myself this every single day when I get up, is, what is your intention today? And I needed to be able to do that so that I had a purpose throughout my day that could help me feel fulfilled, but also so I could stay on track. When you're going through hard things, your purpose that day might not be to go make $1 million company, right? It might be to serve yourself, or it might be to just show up in love to people who need you, or it's going to be a smaller intention. But what I have learned is that over a period of time, those daily intentions lead to the bigger goal that you want. And I just really felt this shift in me that I had to heal. And not that you fully ever heal from some things in life.
Right.
But I just needed to work on myself before I could go back out and try to do anything else. And you know what? My company felt the hit, relationships felt the hit, but my life took a hit.
That's
and
right.
So you can't expect to just go out and just keep, owning the world in your
Right.
dream way when life hands you a different card. Something that has helped me is, and I still do it, but I think a lot of times we want to be, we see ourselves as here, but we want to be here. And maybe over here means that we have this really successful company, or we have a really great relationship, or we have these kids, and we're here. But if we're here, we tell ourselves, then we'll be fulfilled,
Right.
then we'll be happy,
Right.
then we'll have joy. But what I've learned is that getting here never comes if we can't feel the power in where we are.
Yeah.
And so as I was going through this grieving process, my husband and I did take a time out from life, and we went and traveled for a while. And there still be times where I would just be overcome with such sadness, wanting it to all be away. I would literally start yelling, "I am here," and start throwing my hands up in the air so I could just celebrate where I was.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something too that we need to do more of when we're in the process of trying to get to where we want to go, is celebrating where we are right now and allowing that to be enough and allowing that to be okay.
That's so good. I love that, just that whole idea of even just contentment where you are, because the way that I found it, whether it's with money or success or whatever, it's like the finish line always moves, because you get
always
there
moves.
and then the line has moved to
Yeah.
something else. So it's like, if you can't be content where you are with your 200 Facebook followers, with your $30,000 a year, whatever it is, it's not saying you don't want bigger dreams and goals. We all do, but learning to be grateful where you are, then you're going to miss the moment you're in every season that you're in. And so I love that even when it's difficult, throw the hands in the air, I'm here. So I love that, even that visual. Ashley, I would love it if you would just speak directly to our viewers, to our listeners, and just maybe give them some words of encouragement for someone that right now is in those trenches. They are going through a difficult time, and it may be completely different than the difficult time you went through, but they are feeling hopeless. They're feeling stuck. They're feeling like, I want to be there, and getting out of bed is really hard. So maybe just give them some encouragement and hope, because you've been there, and you know what that's like.
Yeah. First of all, sister, I'm so sorry. Whatever has gotten you into the trenches of where you are, I'm so sorry that has happened to you. I also know that there is a great, deep power inside of you that can get you back out. And when you come out, you're not going to see life differently. I call them my new life lenses, that you're now going to have the privilege and the opportunity to look at life differently and to see people in their pain differently. I used to think that in order for me to heal, that I needed to outrun my pain. And so I would take on all of these projects, or I would try to go travel to just hop around from place to place, thinking that if I could run faster and longer than my pain, then I could outrun it and it would go away. But what I have learned about pain is that she can be our greatest teacher. And instead of outrunning it, right now you have the opportunity to invite her in, as painful as she is, to ask her to sit with you and ask her to teach you. And it's in those moments where you learn from your pain or your grief or your depression or your anxiety or all of those things that are weighing you down right now, that is going to turn into your power one day. And I know that you can turn your pain into your power. And so you just have to keep going, and you can do it. Because if I can do it, I know that you can do it too.
Oh, thank you for that. I know that sometimes it's hard to speak directly to them, but I know that it's also, those are the most impactful moments, because they hear directly from you and directly from your heart. Now, you have got some really exciting things coming up. You've got your book where you are speaking directly to your readers, speaking of, and telling your story and spreading hope. So let's just talk about the book for a minute.
So when I was little, I was really shy. And I would go home from school after not talking to anybody all day, and I would write everything I wanted to just pour out, and then I'd throw it under my bed. And that's just how I communicated, and that's just how I expressed myself. And if you knew me when I was 8, and you asked me what I wanted to be when I got older, I would tell you I wanted to be an author. that has been always my dream. And if you asked me what I wanted to write about, I would have told you I want to write books that help people heal their hearts. And so I just feel like it's been something that was just in me forever. But growing up, I heard so many people say, well, what do you really want to do? Or, oh, that's really hard.
That's cute.
Or that's cute. Or
Right.
like, it wasn't this serious thing. So I always thought, oh, that must not be something I can actually do. I have to go figure it out. Last year, around the time that we had met, maybe a year and a half ago, I felt like I kept running into a brick wall that I could not progress anymore in my life until I wrote this book. And I didn't know why. Now I do, because writing this book helped heal me so much, and I also know it's going to help bring power into so many women's lives. And I didn't figure out the title until the very end, and I had a dream of what the title should be because I was really struggling with what it was, and the title's Born to Shine. And that's the whole message of the book, that no matter how knocked out you feel, if you feel like you're flat on your back in the darkest night, that there's still a beautiful view of the stars. And that no matter what you've been through, even if your life doesn't feel like this perfectly presented package of hope and love and everything you wanted, that your story's not yet over, and that you can still uncover your power and your light to keep shining in your life. So the book is part our story, but it's not straight up memoir.
Yeah.
A lot of it, there's really tangible, actionable items in there that will help you uncover your power, which I'm really excited about. The few people that have read the book have said, wow, our stories are so different, but I feel like it was all the same. Like, I feel like you were talking about my exact story, and so I feel so empowered and hopeful to go be able to live out the rest of what I need to do in my life. And that's my hope. I'm not on the cover of it, and I've been asked a lot, why aren't you on the cover of your first book? And I was like, I did that intentionally because it really has nothing to do with me. It's not my story. It's all of our stories wrapped up into one, and the bigger message is that no matter what, we were all born to shine, and here's how you can do that.
I love it. Oh, I'm so excited about it. And I'm so excited because you're speaking at our fall event in Nashville
I'm so
here, which is going to be so fun. We're going to be on stage. I'm so excited to unpack your story and unpack and talk about this book, and the timing will be great because it's right around when the book is coming out this fall and all of that good stuff. So tell us a little bit about how people can connect with you, and especially this fall, you've got some events coming up with your book signings and all that. So tell us, what's the best place for people to know to buy the book in pre-sale, to sign up for an event they want to go to, and all that good stuff?
Well, my favorite place to connect with people is on Instagram. You can find me at Ashley K. Lemieux. And then you can pre-order the book right now at places like Amazon or Barnes & Noble or anywhere online where books are sold. And we'll be going on, it's our Born to Shine tour. We had our first one this spring, and our second one leading up to the book release will be the end of September to October. So you can also head to Instagram to find our website so you can see if we're coming to your city and connect that way.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be so much fun, and I love the energy around this book and the energy around you and your story and just the hope that you're spreading, Ashley. Like, it's just so amazing to see how God is using you in this space, and we're such kindred spirits because we just love helping women be set free. So the ladies at the Business Boutique event are going to love you, and we're going to have a lot of fun.
I'm so excited
I know you're
to be
busy,
there.
even though you're here. So thanks for coming by. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're so glad to have you. Hey everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm Christy Wright, and today I have a challenge for you. Now, recently I told a story where I went on vacation with my husband. We planned out this beautiful trip in a beautiful hotel that was on the beach, and we got there and realized it wasn't on the beach. It was on a street between the hotel and the beach. And y'all, I was devastated. Now, I talked about this recently, and the reason that I shared that initially was to tell you all about setting expectations for your customers. But today, I want to give you the second part of the story. Now, my husband and I, after I was very disappointed, I started exploring other hotels. I thought, okay, well, let me just see. We wanted to come to the beach. I'm really disappointed we're not on the beach, so let me start seeing if there's other hotels in the area that have a room overlooking the beach. So I started exploring. I could tell my husband was visibly a little flustered. He's like, babe, I just want you to be happy. Like, this is our vacation. I want to make the most of it. I was like, I know, I do too. I'm just really disappointed. We're on the road in the busy traffic, and let me just see. Let me just see if there's something available. So I started searching. I found one down the road that looked beautiful. It was on the water, but it was so expensive. And then we would also have to pay a fee, I found out, to cancel our reservation. And after doing about 20 minutes of research, I realized it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it to change and uproot and move all of our stuff and pay the fee at the current hotel and pay the upgrade fee at the new hotel, to go through all of that just so we could be on the beach. I couldn't change our situation. It wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it to spend the money. And I was so grateful for my husband letting me explore my options. But once we realized it just wasn't worth it, I had to do something different. I realized I have two choices right now. I can be disappointed. I can be frustrated. Every time a motorcycle goes by, I can roll my eyes and just be irritated that we're at this hotel that is not on the beach. Or I can change my attitude. After walking in the one hotel that we were exploring about possibly moving to, I came back and my husband said, "So what's the plan?" I said, "You know what?" I said, "They have rooms available. It's really beautiful, but it's really expensive and it's not worth it. So we're not going to change hotels. But let me tell you what is going to happen. I'm going to change my attitude right now. I'm not going to bring this up again, and we are going to have an awesome vacation. Thank you for letting me explore my options, but now that we know that we can't move and it's not right to move, we're going to stay at our current hotel on this street, and I am going to have a great attitude about it. So where do you want to go next? Let's go." And y'all, in that instant, I literally flipped a switch in my mind, and I made a choice. I made a choice to have a great attitude. Now, you're going to find yourself in situations where you're unhappy. You're going to find yourself in situations where you're disappointed, where your expectations weren't met, where something went wrong. And if you can control it, certainly explore your options if you can fix something or solve the problem. But if you can't, and there are plenty of times when we can't, if you can't, my challenge for you is to change your attitude. Flip that switch in your mind and let it go. Because not only will it benefit everyone around you, but you will have a whole lot better time. I guarantee you, everything about the trip was better because I made that choice right then on that day. And it's a reminder I have to give myself. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I've got a lot of feelings. Lots of feelings. Even my feelings have feelings, okay? So like, I am a feelings person, but sometimes I have a tendency to let my feelings drive the car. If you let your feelings drive the car, it will drive you right off a cliff. You will feel frustrated and disappointed, and you are so right because the website was so wrong, and you feel mad that you're not on the beach, and you feel all these things. Great. Guess what? You are in control of your feelings. Your feelings are not in control of you. And that is a reminder I have to tell myself every single day. So when you find yourself in a situation you don't want to be in, or you're disappointed, or you're frustrated, and your feelings are so validated, you're so right in your feelings, you know what? You can change them. You can change your feelings because you are in control of your feelings. Your feelings are not in control of you. You can change your attitude, and you can choose to be happy in an unhappy situation. But here's what's amazing, y'all. I used to think that I had to feel a certain way to act a certain way. Like if I felt unhappy, I would just act unhappy. If I felt happy, I would act happy, and so on. It's actually not true. You can act the way you want to feel, and your feelings will follow. I made a choice right then to act happy, and guess what? I felt happy. We had one of the best vacations we've ever had, but it all came back to making that choice on that day, to change my attitude, to choose that I was going to have a positive attitude, and to choose to act happy, and my feelings followed. So that's my challenge for you. When you find yourself in a situation you don't want to be in, you find yourself frustrated, and even if you're so right, you're so validated, your feelings are so legitimate, so what? You can change them. You can change your feelings, you can change your attitude, and when you do, you will actually change your entire situation and how you experience it. All right, we've got a call from Jessica calling in from Tulsa. Hey, Jessica, how's it going?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. How can I help?
I had a question for you. Now, I'm a big fan. I'm reading your book as we speak. But my question to you is, how do you get business started with no extra money to start it?
Okay, let's talk about this. What is your idea?
My idea is I'm planning on starting a business called Fabulously Fragrant. It is a soap and candle business. And what I'm hoping to do is cutting big brands' cost in half. So hoping to sell my product cheaper than, let's say, Bath & Body Works, Yankee Candles. But my only problem is I don't know how to start it if I don't have the extra money to get that going.
Sure, I got you. Okay, so I've got a couple things that I want to give you advice on. Number one, I want you to think is what is the most baby version of your idea? Now, I don't know about you, Jessica, but a lot of times I think in these big dreams. I've got this big vision for the future, and I could have a store, and it could be downtown, and we could do this and this and this. The only problem is that big dream is expensive and costly and overwhelming sometimes. So instead, I want you to think about how you can start small with almost nothing. Right. So Dave Ramsey's company right now, that is a 800 team member company, started on a card table in his living room. Sarah Blakely started Spanx by cutting the bottoms off of her pantyhose to look good in white jeans. For example, the Wubbanub was started when that mom was in a hotel room and her child kept dropping their pacifier, and she took a hotel sewing kit and sewed his favorite plush animal to the pacifier, and the first Wubbanub was born. So what I want you to think in terms of your business idea, what is the most baby version? Maybe it literally is starting with $10 or $20 to make your first soap, and you turn that for a profit, and you sell it to family and friends and use that profit to then buy more soap, more materials, that type of thing. The iPhone, for example, started with an iPhone 1. And then 2, and then 3. Now we're at the iPhone 10, and it's got a lot of features, and it's way fancier, but you have to start with the 1.0 version. So that's what I want you to think about. What's the 1.0 version of your idea that you can start small and grow slow? And the other option for you that I just want you to think about, and a lot of people don't think this way, but you can actually structure your business in such a way that you take advance orders. And when you take advance orders and advance payment, that money then funds the fulfillment of those orders. Melissa Hennett of Grace and Lace, she is a Shark Tank success story, as a previous Business Boutique Conference speaker. She did this. She didn't want to invest even a dime into her business of her own money. And so she took advance orders, advance payment, and with the $7 to $12 to $15 she received for that order, she used that money to go buy the materials, to make the boot socks, to fulfill that order. Now, of course, as you grow and as you get larger, you will get more sophisticated than that. But I just don't want you to think of cost as a barrier. There are very few industries where you have to have a ton of money to start. And even in those industries, you can get creative and barter and share space and sublease and rent and all kinds of things. So don't let money be a barrier. Start small, grow slow, and then you will control it and own it every step of the way, which is the best kind of business anyway.